Welcome back to another edition of Force Friday, where we talk about Star Wars theories, characters, concepts, comparisons, analyzations, collectibles, and more. And today we're going to talk about the fight between Palpatine and Mace Windu, which is a fight that I have been fascinated with since the first time I saw Star Wars. And we're going to talk about the breakdown of it and basically, did Palpatine throw the fight, which is my personal belief. So let's play it the other way first, just to get it right up and out of the way. Option one is that everything goes literally as you see it on screen. Mace comes in with 3 guys. I heard he initially asked for the most powerful Jedi ever, but they weren't available, so he said, well, any 3 will do. And he brought these guys, and they end up not being the squad you want to take on a Sith Lord. Palpatine corkscrews them into terror and dispatches all of them with the quickness. Not the way that Mace figured it would go. In fact, I'm pretty sure Mace figured it would be much like a Prince song, except there'd be, dig if you will, the picture of you and I engaged with a Sith. Or maybe that wasn't it. Rest in peace, Prince, though. Then, Palpatine and Mace have a standoff. They fight it out. Windows are broken. Lightning is thrown. Palpatine is floored. And then while Mace is kind of distracted, Palpatine unleashes unlimited power! And the rest is history, right? So that's option one. It's not the option that I subscribe to personally. Let's play out the idea of a secondary option. I want to paint a picture, but this time not of you and I engaged with a Sith. I want to paint a picture of a boy who is promised greatness, but the price of that greatness is to leave what he knows and what he loves behind. When he arrives on Coruscant, he's brought before the Jedi Council, people that he holds as some sort of heroes that's established in the scene with him and Qui-Gon in episode 1 of him being impressed with Qui-Gon being a Jedi. And when he's brought before them, they give him a series of tests. And the tests are oddly familiar to me as being very similar to the test that's given by Bill Murray in the first Ghostbusters. But that's neither here nor there. But Anakin passed the test with flying colors. They notice that he's powerful. They know that he's strong. They know that his midichlorian count is dumb. I mean, that it is higher than everybody else's. They think, in fact, that he may be the chosen one. But they don't have any faith in him. And they don't want him to be trained. But eventually, they allow him to be trained. Reluctantly. To sort of honor a dying wish, right? And as a result, Anakin is trained. But he always feels like he has one arm tied behind his back. Imagine if you had Michael Jordan on your team, but you kept him on the bench. That's, I think, how Anakin feels. So they give him a security detail, which I'm sure he thinks is beneath him, but he's looking at Padme like, I'm sliding up in them DMs. Drop your Insta-Yaddy. So there's a payoff for him, right? He gets to get closer to this woman that he's kind of infatuated with, sometimes in a very creepy manner. But neither here nor there, he's definitely not being utilized to his full potential, right? He's frustrated. He says it in the film, so we know that he's frustrated. Then, in the period of the Clone Wars, he becomes the most kind of trusted, strongest general that the Jedi army has seen. And I say army purposefully, because it's not what they should have been in the first place. And as the war is ramping up to a climax, his relationship with the leader of that war is expressing his concern. Now, Palpatine ends up kind of being the father figure that Anakin never had and thought he might obtain with Qui-Gon, right? So that character in Anakin's life is filling a huge void for him. And Palpatine expresses his concerns about the Jedi Council, how they're handling Anakin, whether or not they're using him to his full potential, that he sees in Anakin what Anakin sees in himself, but Anakin feels as though the Jedi Council are missing. So he puts Anakin in an awkward position. I want you to be my voice on the Jedi Council. I want you to be my ears on the Jedi Council. And that's expressed to the Jedi. And Anakin tries to maneuver within that space. And the Jedi give it to him, but once again, reluctantly. And then offend him and insult him by denying him the rank of master. And as a result, it kind of perpetuates this image of how Anakin views the Jedi Council in his mind since he was a child. Plus, he knows his power. He knows his potential, and he knows that he's being held back. So in Anakin's worldview, Palpatine is the sweet old grandfather / mentor, and the Jedi Council are kind of the authoritarian force that even as Anakin is growing up and facing that kind of age of rebellion from a juvenile standpoint, is personified in the council. So Anakin eventually discovers that Palpatine is the Sith Lord. Palpatine tells Anakin, go tell the council. I trust your judgment. Do what you gotta do, Mac, right? So Palpatine knows that the council's going to come for him. He's not surprised when they show up. The council knows that Anakin's in a rough spot, so Mace keeps him out of the fight. And then everything goes down between Mace, those other three guys, not his best guys, just the three guys that were available, and Palpatine. And now here's Anakin, a child that was stripped of his mother, that never had a father, that found a surrogate father, only for that surrogate father to be killed, who was placed before a council that never believed in him, never wanted him, always held him back, and was super critical of him. And he walks in to find what's arguably the leader of that council standing over his grandfather with a lightsaber to his throat. And now Anakin has to make a decision of who is in the moral right and who is in the moral wrong. And I am suggesting that Anakin, and all that he has been through, all that he has seen, and all of his personal experiences will lead him to the conclusion that he's been fighting on the wrong side all along. That the people that have treated him poorly his entire life are now standing over what seems to be a relatively defenseless old man. And that's the position that Anakin finds himself in, and then Anakin takes action. Now, in the film also, there is a scene where Palpatine has a moment to defeat Mace. If you watch the fight, there's a moment where Palpatine's blade is right on Mace, and Mace has no protection in place. But Palpatine doesn't kill him. He lets the fight continue. We know that Palpatine is strong in the Force. He probably would have felt Anakin coming. He timed everything just right, in my opinion. Now, the counter argument I get to this most often is, well, what about Palpatine's scarring and the lightning on his face? Why would he do that? And to me, that can simply be explained away with he needed to look like he had been victimized. He needed to look like he had been scarred and deformed in order to kind of get the galaxy on his side, to accuse the Jedi of the crimes that he accused them of committing and put them in a position where the galaxy would turn against them and rally behind him. Now, we know Mace Windu is strong, and we're not sure that he's stronger than Yoda. I would fare to venture that he's not, but let's take a look at some of the canon. Palpatine is held as being extremely powerful. As Yoda himself says after their duel in the Senate chambers, failed I have. If Yoda, unarguably the most powerful Jedi in the Order, could only come to a stalemate with Palpatine, then it's hard to believe that Mace getting the drop on him was genuine. Not only that, the Clone Wars, a series directly overseen by Lucas, showed Palpatine as powerful enough to force choke Count Dooku from across the galaxy and fight and easily best Darth Maul and Savage Opress, that name's a bit on the nose, no? On Mandalore. Savage may have been a brute, but his strength in the Force as well as his skill as a duelist were undoubtedly powerful, and he is shown to be more than a match for Obi-Wan and Anakin at the same time previously. Maul, while defeated several times, is a master fighter, and the other two together were enough to bring a planet to their heel. That Palpatine not only defeated but utterly mopped the floor with him speaks to his power. And let's not forget his greatest strength. It's not the Force lightning, which Yoda couldn't overcome, or his lightsaber skills, although ask those three guys that Mace brought, they might disagree. It's his mind. This is a man who tricked an entire galaxy into accepting and actively wanting his rule. This is the man who allowed the Imperial Senate to exist only as long as it took for the Death Star, his ultimate tool of submission, to be constructed. This is the man who found an entire army of soldiers being prepared for the Republic by a Jedi who saw his rise and turned it to his own agenda. The man who took a conflicted, unsure Jedi Temple Guard and used him as a tool to hunt down the Jedi. The man who used the Jedi's own hubris and detachment to hide from them in plain sight because he knew exactly how they think. Nothing is ever what it seems with Palpatine. He can make people do his bidding without them knowing. This in mind, it's not hard to tell that the entire fight with Mace is being puppeteered purely in the palm of his hand. Now, George Lucas did say on the Revenge of the Sith commentary that Mace beat Palpatine in that duel fair and square. But it's not that simple. Lucas has a well-documented history of changing his mind on various workings of Star Wars. In 2005, he outright stated that there was no brainwashing or manipulating involved in the clones turning on the Jedi. Yet, in Season 6 of the Clone Wars, a show he oversaw and had full veto powers on, this was completely undone. He claimed Han was never supposed to shoot first, and that it wasn't even scripted that way, while genuine, authentic scripts from the movie have shown that's just not true. There are numerous other examples, but the point is, for all his creativity and storytelling genius, George is a stubborn guy, and his thoughts and opinions on the meaning of his own work change. I also think that ultimately, at the end of the day, it's not really up for George Lucas to decide what actually is within the film, other than what he shows in the film. It's up to the audience's interpretations. It's one of the most beautiful things about Star Wars is that there's all of these fan discussions and debates regarding what something is or what something means within the lore. It's not really up to the God on high to reach down to the peasants that watch his work and dictate to them what is true and what isn't. But at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter. Did Palpatine throw the fight? Did he lose fair and square to an undoubtedly powerful Jedi Master? Doesn't really matter, because the result is the same. Palpatine got what he wanted, like he always does. He gained the most power powerful apprentice he would ever have, turned the galaxy against the Jedi, made himself the victim, established a tyrannical empire the likes of which had never been seen, and took out 4 Jedi Masters for good measure. So whatever way you see this, whether you agree with Lucas or stick to the broader lore, it doesn't change anything. But in looking at all of it and seeing the story as I see it, Palpatine throwing that fight doesn't seem unreasonable. In fact, it seems par for the course. Dig, if you will, the picture. That being said, hope you guys are staying safe. Hope you guys are staying sane. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.